The streetlights flickered above her as she adjusted her scarf and clutched her guitar case tightly. Nora was used to being invisible in this part of the city. She sang for coins on crowded sidewalks, hoping to gather enough each day to afford rent, or at least dinner. Tonight, it was different. Rain threatened to fall, and she hurried into the side alley behind the cafe, where she often practiced. That's when she heard it, a child sobbing. Quiet, yet unmistakable, she followed the sound and found a little girl curled beneath the cafe's awning, arms wrapped around a tattered stuffed rabbit. Her cheeks were wet, but her cries were silent now. Something in her expression broke Nora's heart. "Hey there," Nora whispered gently, kneeling down. "Are you lost?" The girl nodded, hugging her rabbit tighter. "I ran away." Nora looked around. No one else seemed to notice. Without thinking, she sat down beside the child and opened her guitar case. "Want to hear a song?" she asked. The girl nodded again. Nora's fingers found the strings almost instinctively. She began to sing, softly, a lullaby her own mother had once sung to her. The little girl's eyes fluttered. She leaned against Nora's shoulder and, within minutes, fell asleep to the music. That's when a shadow appeared. Heavy steps, expensive shoes, the sound of authority. Nora looked up, and froze. The man was tall, sharp-jawed, dressed in an immaculate suit, and guarded by 2 bodyguards who stood silently behind him. His presence was overwhelming. Cold. Like winter itself. He stared at the sleeping girl, then at Nora. "What are you doing with my daughter?" Nora's breath caught. She was crying. I just sang to help her sleep." He didn't speak for a moment. His dark eyes seemed to scan her soul. Then, with the gentlest gesture, he knelt and lifted the child into his arms. The girl stirred only slightly and sighed. "Daddy," she murmured in her sleep. Still holding the girl, he looked back at Nora. "Thank you." Nora stood awkwardly, unsure what to say. "She said she ran away. She does that when she's scared," he said flatly. "And she's been scared a lot lately." He turned to leave but paused. "You have a good voice," he added. Before Nora could reply, they were gone. The next evening, as she sat up again, a black car pulled up beside the cafe. A man in a suit stepped out and handed her a card. "You're invited to sing for a private event." Same girl. Same song. Confused but curious, Nora followed the address. The mansion was massive, marble pillars, a courtyard bigger than most parks. Nora was ushered inside, where the little girl ran to hug her the moment she entered. "You came." The child beamed. Nora smiled. "Of course." That night, she sang lullabies in the golden halls of wealth, to an audience of 1, a sleepy little girl who held her rabbit tightly. From the far corner, the billionaire watched. Silent. Expression unreadable. As days passed, the invitations continued. What began as music for a child slowly turned into dinners, long conversations, and quiet moments in the garden. He remained distant at first, always formal. But one night, after the girl had gone to bed, he stayed behind. "Your music, it calms her," he said. Nora nodded. "She has a beautiful heart." "She gets that from her mother," he replied. Then paused. "She died 2 years ago." A heavy silence fell between them. "I wasn't always like this," he added. Cold. Guarded. Business changes people. Loss finishes the job. Nora looked at him, really looked. Behind the power and fear the world whispered about, she saw a father. A man trying to hold the pieces together. "You're not as cold as you pretend to be," she said quietly. He chuckled. "Don't tell anyone." One evening, the little girl fell ill, feverish and weak. The billionaire was panicked, pacing the mansion like a storm. Nora stayed by the girl's side, singing softly, brushing back her hair, cooling her forehead with a damp cloth. "You stayed," he said, entering the room. "Of course." She didn't look up, just kept singing. The girl eventually drifted into peaceful sleep, and for the first time, the billionaire looked human. "Vulnerable. I thought money could fix everything," he murmured. "But it can't sing her to sleep. It can't bring her peace." Nora looked at him, softly. "Sometimes, it just takes a voice that means something." He sat beside her, closer than ever before. "You've changed our lives." She smiled. "And you've changed mine. I just never expected it." "Neither did I." Weeks passed. The girl's health improved. The nights grew quieter. And slowly, the walls between Nora and the Tycoon crumbled. One night, under the garden lights, he reached for her hand, she's not afraid anymore, he said. Because she knows you're here. What about you? Nora whispered. Are you still afraid? He didn't answer. Instead, he leaned in and kissed her, softly, with years of silence behind it. Nora never meant to meet a billionaire. She never imagined she'd sing her way into someone's heart, but sometimes, the quietest voice is the one that heals the loudest soul, and sometimes, the girl who sings in the alley ends up writing the love song neither of them ever saw coming.